Morant with a running start. Elevates. Oh, it dunks. Oh, my goodness.
Tie game in overtime. Gasol will turn. His heave is gone. Memphis on top. 7-10 remaining.
Conley now with three. Count it. A 15-point lead for Memphis. And Blake Griffin gets into it on the floor with Randolph. Hard to tell if there are any punches being thrown under there, but Griffin took acceptance.
Adams going long. Morant. Oh, he hit it. John Morant, insanity.
You gotta be kidding me.
Welcome to Grits and Grinds, a Memphis Grizzlies podcast. Grizzlies win edition. My name is Keith Parish. I apologize. After the first preseason game, I totally forgot all about the Grizzlies win edition. The Grizzlies moved to 2-0 on the preseason. They give us memories of the Grizzlies being back with a blowout win over the Magic. I mean, maybe it wasn't totally a blowout. It felt like a blowout. They pushed it up to a 19-point lead in the third quarter. There were numerous highlight plays, lots of forced turnovers, lots of alley-oops. For the time being, any of the concerns about not being able to generate those transition buckets were put to rest as the Grizzlies kind of clowned on the Magic in the third quarter. And it was a great demonstration once again of what this team can do. The most exciting things for maybe nerdy podcasters like myself was we got to see a full strength squad minus Jaren Jackson Jr., and we got some of those answers about the rotation, about the starting lineup. We also, maybe most importantly, got to see Ja Morant once again. Ja Morant was amazing in this game. Yes, he briefly frightened us in the third quarter when he left with that cramp. He also had a weird landing earlier in the third quarter where Cole Anthony fouled him when he was going up, and he kind of hopped twice on his one leg, and it's that, I don't know. You get nervous as a Grizzlies fan every time you see him elevate and then come down a little awkwardly, but he's totally fine, and he looked the part of a guy who wants to be in the MVP conversation. If you had told someone who maybe wasn't an NBA expert before the game that, hey, Ja Morant's the best player in the NBA, he didn't do anything in this game that would have dissuaded that claim. Ja Morant was awesome, generating turnovers on offense, making those highlight buckets, highlight passes, blowing by guys, even hitting three-pointer. You loved what you saw from Ja Morant. You loved what you saw from the fifth starter, Santi Aldama. We got that one right. A lot of people did. I don't know who was first on announcing that, hey, it looks like the clues are pointing to Santi Aldama as being first in line to fill in for Jaren Jackson Jr. And this was the first time we saw all the healthy starters minus Jaren available and playing. And in fact, Santi did get the nod to start, and boy, did he come through. He made his first 4 3-pointers, although the last one was banked. We don't really want to count that one. But he had a huge game. He scored 21 points on 9 field goal attempts. Just a tremendous game from Santi, who definitely looked the part of an NBA starter. But I think the most interesting thing to me that I'll start the show with before talking about some of the individual performances of the other guys, for me, it's all about the information we got about the 10-man rotation. I think, yes, definitely Santi is going to start as long as Jaren Jackson Jr. is out. The next question for me was going to be, if they play the 10-man rotation, who's going to be like that 10th guy? If you assumed Santi was going to start, and we found out that was the case, and we knew who like the other 8 guys who were definitely in the rotation with Ja and Dez and Dylan and Steven Adams, and then Tyus and Zaire and Conchar and Brandon Clark off the bench, who's the 10th guy? When I did my episode last week guessing the rotation, I got most of the rotation exactly right. When I did that exercise, I started thinking, maybe we need another big man. And earlier in the summer, I had assumed, all right, LaRavia is going to get the opportunity from day one. But then when I looked at the actual rotation and said, I feel like maybe we need another big guy, maybe Tillman will get the nod. Well, it was, in fact, Jake LaRavia. Tillman got a DNP in this game. I mean, I assume next game, we're going to see Tillman worked in, and they're going to experiment some with Tillman being in the top 10 of the rotation. But my impression is whatever this first preseason dress rehearsal, and this felt like a dress rehearsal, whatever happens in the first preseason dress rehearsal is the most likely thing to happen once the regular season starts. So Jake LaRavia got the nod as the 10th guy in the rotation. They played maybe a little bit smaller on the second unit, but we saw the obvious benefits. The LaRavia-Brandon Clark front court pairing on that second unit, it might have defensive limitations, it might have rebounding limitations, but we saw it on offense. It's a beautiful pairing. Anytime Brandon Clark screens for the ball handler, anytime he's involved in the primary action and then ends up rolling towards the basket, if LaRavia, he's posted up on the wing, and anytime LaRavia's defender pinches in and helps on Brandon Clark rolling to the basket, LaRavia's going to be wide open. It's going to be wide open from three. That's the reason that, maybe they moved on from Kyle Anderson. That's the reason LaRavia is drafted, to provide that spacing. And so we saw some glimpses of that in actuality, that LaRavia pairing with Brandon Clark, very, very nice on the offensive end. The questions are going to remain on the defensive end. But adding LaRavia as the 10th guy in the rotation gave us a very clean, okay, you got your starters, and then your second unit is Tyus Jones, is Conchar, Zaire Williams, LaRavia, and Clark. And so now we know, okay, that's a rotation. I don't know if you can use that for your fantasy basketball purposes. Like, are any of you guys going to draft Santi Aldama? He's going to get minutes. He's going to get minutes for a while. Are you going to draft John Conchar? Conchar did his thing, got all his rebounds. What did he finish with? 9 rebounds in 23 minutes. Now at least we know. If you're projecting your minutes for the Grizzlies, thinking about what it's going to look like until Jaren Jackson Jr. gets back, we have, I think, a pretty solid impression of what that's going to look like. I'm going to get into more of some of the player combinations maybe at the end of the show. It's going to be probably a short show, just reacting to this overall team win where, again, it's full speed ahead on the Grizzlies hype because they once again looked, they're just a different class of team than the Magic right now. The Magic didn't have Franz Wagner in their rotation. They had a lot of their regular players, though, and like Paolo Banchero, the number 1 overall pick, he looked great, but the guard play on the Magic, it's just tough. Cole Anthony's okay. He's made some big game winners in his career, but they just don't have the quality of player and the overall team cohesion that the Grizzlies have. And once again, it felt like the teamwork, the ball movement, the swarming defense of the Grizzlies, it's just a different caliber of basketball than what their opponent was playing. The individual performances, I already said, Ja Morant was great. 7 out of 10 at the line. You like the number of times he got to the line, although some of those kind of a tight whistle. And again, that third quarter, there were so many calls, very disjointed, not that much fun until the Grizzlies really started getting out in the transition in the second half of the third quarter. But 7 for 10, the free throws from Ja, always going to be a thing. Yeah, a few turnovers, 4 turnovers is too many, but the way he attacked, and his preseason numbers, by the way, just ridiculous for his entire career. He always posts these incredible shooting percentages, and so we love what we saw from Ja Morant. Desmond Bane and Dillon Brooks, they made their season debuts, their preseason debuts. Yeah, a little rusty from the three-point line. Dillon made 2. Desmond Bane continued his kind of cold shooting from FedEx Forum. I guess we'll ignore that from now. But, we don't care about the actual individual shooting results. We just like to see how they played as a unit, as a team. And the Grizzlies are so well set up with having Desmond and Dillon, 2 guys who are maybe among the top 15 players at their position. Definitely Desmond Bane, arguably Dillon Brooks, and just the luxury of having 2 guys on the wing who are 3-and-D guys who are, above average or average to above average at their position. To flank Ja Morant with that, it's one of the reasons the Grizzlies are so good. It's also, by the way, one of the reasons I have no interest in getting rid of Dillon Brooks unless I'm getting back a player who's way better than Dillon Brooks. I will say, talking about the rotations, this just occurred to me, and like flanking Ja Morant, so many of the lineups today, you saw, I think, the grand vision. You saw the vision of Zach Kleiman and this front office. Like there was lineups where most of the second unit was on there with Ja Morant, and you could just see how these pieces put around Ja right now are made just to elevate Ja Morant's game. maybe it's putting too much of a burden on Ja, but there were some times where Ja was playing with Zaire Williams and John Conchar and Jake LaRavia and Brandon Clark. And all of those guys, Zaire, Conchar, LaRavia, and Clark, extremely low usage basketball players. And maybe the Grizzlies will face teams that will swarm Morant and force the other guys to beat them. But in this situation, and maybe against a team that, you don't care that much about your defensive game plan, probably in preseason, you're not going to show anything that's going to help you in the regular season or the postseason. In this game, it allowed Ja Morant to do whatever he wanted. I wonder if in the regular season, if these specific lineups, if it's perfectly tailored to allow Ja Morant just to do whatever he wants. You want to try to take it away? All right, he's going to pass it to one of these three shooters on the court, assuming Conchar can keep his same high shooting percentages if he increases his volume. Zaire Williams, that three-point shot seems like it's developing. LaRavia, we saw him knock down another open three, and this one, a beautiful, pure stroke. So maybe these lineups, you saw like the concept, the dream of what the front office was doing of surrounding Ja Morant with the perfect pieces that allow him to have huge individual and team success. But going back to the individual players, Santi was great. Ja Morant was great. Desmond and Dillon, good to see them, back out there. Steven Adams, fresh off his extension, just moving people around, grabbing the offensive rebounds, generating those second chance points for the Grizzlies. Tyus, kind of a rough shooting night. He missed his first 7 shots before making his final floater in the fourth quarter, and they pulled him out immediately after. Brandon Clark, again, much better when playing with good players. He shines a lot more. Love to see his movement. LaRavia, all right, he went 1 from 6 from 3. The one problem we've seen so far in Jake LaRavia's shooting game, this has been, I think, consistent through Summer League and now through 2 preseason games. When he's wide open, looks great. Beautiful stroke, makes most of them. When he has to relocate, when he tries to do like the Desmond Bane flyby, when he pump fakes and steps sideways, so far, he's missed basically all of them. I think he might have missed every single one of his three-pointers he's taken while he's been on the Grizzlies. This is including Summer League and now preseason. Anytime he pump fakes and takes one dribble or a step to the side, he misses. And he usually misses long. So hopefully he will add that to his repertoire. He will add that to his arsenal. It's going to be needed for him to be an effective and good NBA player. But right now, the standstill 3 looking very, very good. And again, he's already providing the spacing. We also saw that one play. They called a play for him on an out-of-timeout possession where they ran an action that got him to the top of the key, and then he just drove straight to the bucket and dunked it. So that was a great little variation to show that LaRavia is going to keep the defense honest. We just need him to develop, that pump fake and step to the side. I'm sure it'll come because, again, like the form looks awesome. Zaire Williams, he's just a solid bench scorer. That's going to be his role. Looking very smooth out there. Again, looking athletic and big. It seems like he's added a little bit of muscle. And Conchar, like we mentioned already, 4 assists, 9 rebounds, 2 blocks. That's an elite Conchar game. Beyond that, those are the 10 guys they played. It wasn't until the fourth quarter that David Roddy checked in. And by that time, it felt a little bit like garbage time. Hard to take anything as far as evaluation-wise out of his performance. Also, same for Kennedy Chandler. He checked in for the final 7 minutes. If you want to find anything to try to evaluate over outside of the fact that it was just a great team win and everyone looked solid, if you have those question marks that I mentioned last episode, did the defensive rebounding look better? No, actually, no. Despite the return of Steven Adams, the team actually only got 12 second chance points, only had 6 offensive rebounds through the first 3 quarters, finished with 9. They did out-rebound the Magic. The three-point shooting still really wasn't there. The team only made 10 three-pointers. Some of that was just the Grizzlies get layups. They scored in the paint. They scored 50 points in the paint. We want... As a general rule, you think, all right, we want more three-point shooting, but also you'd rather have layups and dunks. And it is kind of funny that the Grizzlies get so many transition opportunities. They torched the Magic in transition in this game. And you're not going to get three-pointers if you keep getting layups. And that's fine. Let's keep getting layups. I was thinking about how one of the goals of the team is to improve the half-court offense. And watching the game on Monday night, my thought was, it's hard to practice your half-court offense when you keep getting alley-oop dunks and runouts off of these steals from Bane and Ja and Brandon Clark and whoever else is out there. So you like to see the pace that the Grizzlies were playing with. You love to see that. I think it was 27 assists once again. That's Grizzlies basketball, like Taylor Jenkins said in the post-game press conference. Will we have an opportunity to hone our half-court offense, maybe playing a better team or a better defensive team? We will see. And in those situations, will we depend more on those second chance points and those rebounds once again, and will we at that point need the three-point shooting? But as far as this preseason game 2, it was not needed. It was just a blast to watch. One final, maybe issue for all of us in the club, the Kenneth Lofton Union of Believers, as named by Chris Harrington. Kenneth Lofton Jr. got a DMP. He's not in the top 10 of the rotation. That's not surprising. But still, I want to see him get an opportunity, especially after his first performance in preseason where he was so good. I need to see Kenneth Lofton Jr. playing with the real guys to see if any of it carries over. But that, for me, is the only strike against the Grizzlies this game. No Junior made me sad, but everything else, you loved to see it. Hopefully we'll get to see him play this Friday night as the Grizzlies host the Miami Heat. That'll be the next time the Grizzlies are in action, and that will be your only chance to catch the Grizzlies at home before the regular season starts. I think I'll be doing a playback watch party online for those of you who are not near Memphis and can't go to the game. I think I'll probably do playback watch parties for the remaining 3 preseason games. That's Friday, October 7th, Tuesday, October 11th, and Thursday, October 13th. So definitely check out the playback watch party room. And I think that's it for today. If you're in the Memphis area, don't miss it this Saturday as John Mulaney comes to town. He brings his From Scratch comedy tour to the FedEx Forum. Those tickets are on sale. You got to get them because the show is Saturday, October 8th. Get your tickets. Get ready for some seriously funny jokes. For tickets and information, visit FedExForum.com. I appreciate you guys listening to this episode. Make sure you check out the Grits and Grinds YouTube page. Please subscribe over there. Anyway, hope you're having a great Tuesday. Talk to you soon. Go Grizz.